3, 2, 1.
All right, it's Hit the Books alongside the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Joey Knish, producer extraordinaire, Alex Moretto. I'm Brad Powers, and we're breaking down the biggest news stories coming out of spring practice, college football 2026. But first and foremost, as always, Hit the Books is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Hit the Books is brought to you by FanDuel, and FanDuel is giving you better payouts on same-game parlays all NBA playoffs long. With more ways to build and more value every time you play, you can stack your picks your way for every game, every matchup, and every moment. From spreads to player points to threes and more, build it all into one same-game parlay and go for bigger payouts. So if you're betting same-game parlays this NBA postseason, bet them on FanDuel. More options, better payouts, all NBA playoffs long. Again, I love coming up with these matchups here as far as the NBA goes. You got the Pistons and the Cavs coming up. You got the 76ers against the Knicks. Can't wait to bet these games. What you need to do is head on over to FanDuel.com/hitthebooks to get started. That's FanDuel.com/hitthebooks to get started. FanDuel, the official partner of the NBA. Play your game. Disclaimer, you must be 21 plus and present in select states. For Kansas in affiliation with the Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or call 1-800-MY-RESET. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 1-800-327-VIDI-VIDI for 24/7 support Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE New York or text HOPE New York in New York. For Louisiana, call 1-877-770-7867. All right, Knish, it's post-spring. We got a little bit of a feel for a lot of the teams. There has been some spring games that have been televised. A lot of teams at the top, whether it be Oregon, Ohio State, Michigan Wolverines, Notre Dame, Indiana. Got a chance to see a lot of these teams. And the question and the topic for this video is, coming out of spring, how many teams do you think realistically, obviously there could be some long shots. We just had one, Indiana, come out of nowhere, winning the national championship last year. How many teams do you think realistically can win the national championship coming out of spring? I got the number in my head, and I think it's a really good number. What's your number, Knish?
You know what? I know I'm going to go a little higher than you. I'm going to go a little baker's dozen here. I'm at
Baker's dozen.
I'm at 13. And if we go to our friends at FanDuel, I've got the top 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 teams there that I think you could make a case that could get it. So if you're giving me Ohio State, Notre Dame, Texas, Indiana, Oregon, Georgia, Miami, Texas A&M, LSU, Ole Miss, Bama, Texas Tech, and if you're Bryce Underwood, we'll get into it in a minute. If Bryce Underwood steps up, maybe one more, maybe I'd sprinkle one more on there. But really about a dozen teams that I have, what I'll call in the mix. And I think this number that we've talked about over the years keeps expanding, keeps getting a little wider. And as we continue the flattening of the sport, I think this is going to just keep inching its way up little by little. So for me, I'm at about a dozen teams there that I think you can make a claim. Maybe not a big claim, maybe not a great claim, but in most of our lifetime, the number was usually 2 or 3 or maybe 4. I'm at 12, and I know you're going to say a lot lower than me.
Yeah, I'm at 7. And let's just, we got a few minutes here. Let's go through these. I'll start with some easy ones. ACC, Miami, for me. We both agree on that one. The only one in that conference?
Yes.
Independent Notre Dame, right?
Yeah.
All right. Big 12, you still think Texas Tech can win the national championship without Sorsby?
I'm putting them in the conversation.
I know they got a 10.5 win total with the overweight juiced. I mean, I got them favored by double digits in every game. I do not think this team is capable of winning 3-4 straight games against the big boys. They couldn't even score a point last year against Oregon. I just watched the Oregon JMU game. JMU put up 500 yards on the Oregon defense. We saw what Indiana did to that Oregon defense. What did old Texas Tech do? 0. No, there's disagreement there. I think the disconnection here. But I don't think you're crazy. I mean, obviously. But I think they're a playoff team. I just think there's a difference between a team that can win 2, 3, 4 games. Yep. So, all right, there's one disagreement. Big 10, I got 3 surefire, easy. Ohio State, Indiana, Oregon. Agree there?
Yep.
All right.
I'm locked with you.
And
this is where we're going to have the biggest disagreement.
What's the other team?
No. I think in the Southeastern Conference.
I think we do here. I mean, you got to make the playoff in order to be a title contender. A lot of these teams I don't think are making the playoff. SEC, and I agree with you. There's probably an extra team that I'm not giving credit. I think Georgia and Texas are slam dunks, right?
Yep.
A lot of upside, specifically Texas, the team I'm wearing a hat on. Georgia's the safe bet. Alabama, I hear you. I know they won a playoff game last year. When they went second round, I mean, we saw there's a big difference between, championship and playoff team. I don't know if they're that much better this year. I think Russell gives them a little bit more upside at quarterback than a banged up Ty Simpson. I still like Kalen DeBoer. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. I hear you on that one. I think they're a playoff team. Win total's only 8.5. I mean, so Alabama's a national title contending team. Then you might as well just take that money and run as far as over 8.5. Say the same thing. LSU, I think, has a lot of upside. You think they're a title contending team year one? Lane Kiffin.
Here's what I'm taking here is I think you've got what I'll call the next tier of the SEC. That one is going to get a few teams into the playoff because we're both lockstep, Texas, Georgia. But then, Bama on the fringe. But then you've got 3, 4, 5 teams, 2 of which you can give me. I'm playing a little bit of devil because 2 of which you can give me are going to make the playoff. And so you almost have a little bit of a free roll where if Tennessee exceeds expectations, if Oklahoma, who I know neither of us are big on, exceeds expectations. And then you've got the A&M, LSU, Ole Miss tier of teams that are bringing, like Texas A&M in the trenches, very good. The Lane hype. Ole Miss bringing back a, Heisman contender and Trinidad Chambliss. Teams that I'm not going to go out there and say make a national championship bet, but I think they're going to be in the playoff convo and then have enough talent where I think they, if they get in, it's one of those scenarios where I don't know if the delta between, like we've seen in a few years past, between 1-8 or 1-10 or 1-12 is going to be much more than 7 to 10 points. So to me, then you've got what I'll call, it's not going to be that 21, 24, 28 point spread. You've got some puncher's chance in some of these games if you're one of those teams. So I think the what I'll call the end of the curve has a little bit more potential for 1 or 2 teams to really step up there.
I'll agree that certainly there's going to be 1 or 2 teams that step up, make the playoffs, because the SEC is not only getting 2 playoff teams. So they're going to get 3 or 4. I see why the win totals for this conference: LSU 8.5, Alabama 8.5, Texas A&M 8.5. Where my disagreement is, are you running the window to bet to A&M to win the national championship and Marcel Reed at quarterback?
I'm not at the current price. No.
All right. Fair enough.
Give me, so we talked with Indiana last year, anybody outside of what I'll call the top 15 or the top 12, the Joey K top 12 here, where once you start getting into odds, the 45 to 50 to 1 or higher, that could even make a noise.
Well, I'll say the SEC. My problem is I'm not even sure Georgia and Texas. I think they might be even a little bit a tier less than the Big Ten teams in Notre Dame.
I'm with you.
And then you're another tier down. That's where the pricing is there. I think teams can make like a Penn State can make the playoff. I don't think they're good enough to win multiple playoff games.
Right.
With the schedule, would I be so shocked if they won 10 games with that schedule? No. Would I be shocked if BYU had yet another season? Say they went 11-1 and lost the Big 12 championship game to Tech. Maybe they get the benefit of that out this year. That'd be 3 straight 11+ win seasons. Yeah, they can make the playoffs, but can they win 3-4 playoff games? No. Those are probably the 2 that come to mind. You got to know maybe somebody out of the ACC.
Yeah.
Let's be honest. Mario Cristobal is not the most proven commodity when it comes to winning games he's supposed to. I would not be shocked if a Louisville came out of nowhere. Braum is who beat Mario Cristobal on the road last year, and I think they're going to get better quarterback play this year. That would be a far long shot of a team. Again, that I'm willing to bet to win the ACC to make the playoffs, but again, do they have the horses to win 3 playoff games? I'm doubting it.
I'm with you on that, where I think there's teams in that range. Louisville was going to be the ones that I brought up of make the playoff intrigues me. Conference features intrigue me a lot more than actual national title. Can anyone be as complete and well coached as an Indiana or has had that great of a roster turn? No, we just you'd be kind of searching for ghosts out there that don't really exist. Everybody wants the next one, but there's probably not a next one this year in terms of a team that can make it from that far. But as you said, I think, if everything goes right for, a BYU, a Washington, a Louisville, that they can make the playoff. And that's probably a much better wager than taking anything, in the 100 to 1 or worse for a national championship.
Here's what I will say, and I think you'll agree with me. I would rather, instead of getting in this market, unless there's just a book that's, offering a total misprice compared to everybody else, obviously you jump in then. But as far as jumping into this market, I am much more, willing to jump in during the season, or hell, even at the later part of the season than I am right now. I'll give you a great example. Miami. The week before the playoff selection show was 200 to 1 to win the national title. So that's when or a team loses a game. You're buying low, you're entering the market that way. I am much more willing to make a bet then during the season than I ever have before.
I'm with you. And you know what? Even I'll just use an example. In one of the shows last week, you talked about Oregon. I liked that, in terms of but do I want to bet Oregon 8 to 1 now? Or how much, let's say they have a good season, they make the playoff. How much less is that price realistically going to be? It's like they're not going to be 2 to 1. They're not going to be 3 to 1.
Yeah, good point.
I mean, you can go probably 11 and 1 with the Big Ten title, and there's still be 354 to 1 with the playoff starting, having to win 4 games. So it's one of those. I'm with you. Like some of these preseason future, especially now that with the expanded playoff and the lack of truly elite tier teams, the lower pricing just. The juice is not worth the squeeze anymore for me betting at the top of the board.
All right, that team, we got to mention it briefly. Michigan, chance to win the title or not?
You could have sold me before spring ball. This is our post-spring thoughts. If I saw, before spring ball, if you told me Bryce Underwood's taking the step and he looks, he looks great, you could have sold me on it. It's the opposite. So I know we'll talk about it here in a sec. But no, I'm not sold there after what I've seen so far.
Speaking of Bryce Underwood, we're going to have a big full video on Bryce Underwood and what we thought we saw or didn't see as far as spring practice goes. But that'll do it. What's the true answer? How many teams can win the national title? Knish says 12 or 13. I say 7. Probably the truth is somewhere in the middle, 10, which is great because I agree with Knish. In the past 15 years of college football, that number might have been 4 at max. And a lot of years, maybe only 2 or 3. So we are seeing a little bit more parity at the top of college football. That'll do it for the man, the myth, the legend himself, Joey Knish. I'm Brad Powers. Thank you to Alex Moretto. You just watched Hit the Books, part of the Hammer Betting Network, sponsored by FanDuel.